Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Well, it's time to dive into this giant piece of scrap. This is a Ling Chinese diesel engine. I was told when I bought it, which I should have never done, I was told it was a 25 horsepower engine. What I should probably do is go to Google Translate and see if I can decipher all of this Asian writing here, Chinese writing, and see if I can verify that. But anyway, I've talked about this thing several times on previous videos, so I'm not going to delve into much of that. But the backstory on this is when I did a road trip a 3 years ago with my pal Larry up to Prescott Valley, where he picked up that Model A Ford-based Worthington golf course tractor. And as a little side trip, we went into Prescott, downtown Prescott. There's a used tractor and engine guy there that horse trades all the time, where I found this thing. Well, anyway, much to my regret, here it sits. I was told by the seller that the starter engages, but the Band-Aids won't bring the gear out and engage the flywheel. So that's probably the first thing I'm going to look at on this thing. I mean, that flywheel is huge. That's got to be 30 inches in diameter. I mean, and this engine, I'm guessing, weighs at least 500 pounds. It's heavy. So that's the first thing I'm going to delve into. And if we're successful there, I mean, the engine turns over. And it turns over easy because I believe the compression release is stuck in the release position. So a lot of compression is bypassing. So if I can get the starter to engage, that's the next thing we'll look at, is that compression release. And then if I can solve those two problems. Power from the Past has a tractor play day coming up very soon at the Whetstone Dog Park. They're going to be having a some kind of a big dog show there in February next month, February 2025. And so Power from the Past is going to go over there and work the ground. And I've got a nice disc on the back of the 8N here. That belongs to my pal Greg and Power from the Past, who used Matt when we did that Brown and Sharp milling machine project recently. Anyway, Greg loaned that to me. I tested it on the Ford in a little patch out here, and that works great. But I've gone a long way around the barn here to explain that. I'm going to change the oil in the Ford. And it's got Rotella T in it, the earliest version of Rotella oil, at least I believe so. And it's due for an oil change. So I am going to drain the oil out of that and put fresh oil in it. And I'm going to take that used oil and I'm going to put it in that Chinese diesel engine hiding in there. I don't want to spend any money on that diesel engine because I bought it. I paid way too much money for it. Anyway, I'm going to take that used oil and put it in there. If I can resolve the starter and the compression release issue. I don't want to spend any money and put good oil in here. The oil in the Ford is not that old, and it's got plenty of lubricity left in it and viscosity. And so I will put that in here, and it's Rotella diesel oil. And I am not looking forward to pulling this cover off and put oil in it, because I did that when I first bought it. And I mean, it stinks. I don't know what they had in this engine, maybe some kind of vegetable oil or animal fat oil or something. But I mean, I wish I had smell-o-vision, because you open that cover up and it'll gag you. It just stinks. So I'll put that used motor oil in there, and then we'll work on the fuel injection system. I'm assuming the injector is probably plugged. We'll pull that apart and clean it. That looks like a glow plug connection there. I'm going to pull that out, see if the tip is okay on that. We'll go through the fuel system as best I can, and we'll check the filter. I don't have a fuel tank for this, but on that old burned up Yanmar engine on the contraption project, that's got a good fuel tank on it, so I'll pull that off and rig it up for this. This is a hopper cooled engine, like the old hit and miss engines, and unlike like my international LB engines. It's hopper cooled, but somebody did a fabulous fabric cobble job and looked like they set it up for a recirc of some type, because there's a connection down there, a water connection there. But I'm just going to plug that. These were designed to be hopper cooled. In fact, let me show you a picture. Well, I guess that picture really didn't give you much of a reveal on hopper cooling, but they are, trust me. And these engines are really popular in Southeast Asia, China, even Japan. That picture was of one of their two-wheel walk-behind rice paddy tractors. They use the heck out of those things over in Southeast Asia and other places around the world. Good little tractors, and although I am not a fan of Chinese manufacture, I'll have to say this beast is really heavy duty. They did a good job. Obviously, the starter is a clone of a Delco Remy. But it's all metric, so I'm sure there's no parts interchangeability. But anyway, I've been talking way too much. Let's grab the wrenches and get to work on this thing. Well, that's a problem. The fasteners holding the starter on are 18 mil. I put a socket on here, but the ratchet smacks on the body of the starter. The ratchet end of the wrench here also won't fit, so we've got to do this the old school way. Fortunately, it doesn't appear those fasteners are stuck, but guess what? That's not an 18 millimeter down below. It happens to be a 3/4 SAE. Somebody has been here before us. The mounting bolt with the 3/4 inch head here fits in either mounting hole. That's kind of weird, because this one's definitely an 18 mil and that one's definitely 3/4, but the thread pitch is identical. I'm confused. None of my SAE or metric dies fit these bolts. Maybe I'm dealing with JIS. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I really don't care at this point, as long as they hold the starter on. And that's a real prime location for the dipstick, right underneath the starter. You got to pull the starter off to check the oil. That's really brilliant. Oh, wish we had smell-o-vision. Oh, God. That is horrid. Well, that wasn't very tight. I'm taking this strap loose, so when I pull this apart, the solenoid is going to go with this part of the starter. So, and I'm just going to leave it on there. So I'm taking this loose. Guess I better take this end cover off too. Gotta try out my Firehouse Custom Fabs hammer here. Here it comes. Boy, that looks beautiful inside. Really does. All clean and shiny. I took a screwdriver in there, and the brushes are a little gummy in their retainers. Springs are a little sticky, so I have to clean that up. The inside of that, it's not too bad. It's a little oily and grimy, but nothing that can't be cleaned up. The armature looks really good and in good shape. I've got to, looks like I've got to take these screws loose so I can separate this, because the problem's back in here. I don't know if the Bendix spring is busted or what. This is, that little retainer there's been lock wired on there, as you can see. So somebody's definitely been in here before me. Don't know yet if we can resurrect this thing. That engine is also set up for hand crank start. Right there, it's where you can put a hand crank in, but none of the hand cranks that I have are the right size. Well, let's see what all comes flying apart here. Get this screw out of here. Well, I've got the cart before the horse here. I've had to undo that lock wire. I got to pull it out of there, slide this off, and then slide the gear off. Then I can separate this whole thing. Well, in addition to that lock wire, we got a roll pin right there. So I'll get that knocked out of there. Well, I found one problem. This tip of the engagement fork, this fork was in backwards. You can see, maybe, focus down inside there. That fork engages that pin, the end of that shaft there. And it was in there backwards. Well, this fork being in there backwards could be the secret to our whole issue. Not, since it was in there backwards, when the solenoid engages, you know, it forces this spring. This is some kind of sealed clutch arrangement. Anyway, that locks that and spins that gear, but it was slipping because there wasn't enough spring tension on it. So what I'm going to do, there's a clip in here. I've got to collapse this spring tension with a C-clamp. I'm going to go ahead and pull this thing the rest of the way apart off camera and just see what I can discover. And then I'll bring you back. Well, this looks like a two-piece affair, and I put some heavy channel locks on it, trying to see if I could unscrew it somehow or get it to move. It's stuck solid, and I'm afraid if I proceed down that path, I'll damage this thing. And of course, parts are unobtainium, so I'll be stuck. The inside, I shined a light inside that shaft. This thing is just full of junk and old grease and just gack, and it's all crapped up. So I'm going to throw it in the parts washer for 24 hours, let it soak, and then rinse it out really good. And and then I'm going to leave it alone. That's as far as I'm going to go with it, and start putting it back together. But I'll be doing that on the next video. Well, welcome to 2025, everybody. Today is 20th of January, 2025. This is the inauguration day in the United States. Our new president was sworn in today. So we're going to see what happens in the next 4 years. I think that fork, that when the solenoid engages, that fork jams that whole spring assembly tight against it. It looks like a little clutch assembly there against that gear. And I think because that fork was in backwards, it just wasn't putting enough tension on it, causing it to slip on the shaft. Plus, there's a lot of grease and junk in places it shouldn't be. So I'm just going to clean it up at this point, put it back together, and see if it'll come back to life. I'm beginning to feel like Musty One here a little bit. This is the first time I've had a starter like this apart. I've had the old Chrysler gear reduction starters apart. I've had Farmall H starter apart, old Ford starters apart, things like that. But not this style, which is amazing considering how old I am and how many vehicles I've had over the years. But if any of you recognize something that I missed, hey, drop in the comments below. I'd appreciate it. So with that, I'm going to say thanks for watching and say a hearty welcome to new subscribers and a hearty thanks to existing subscribers. And we'll pick this up on the next video and see where it goes. I'm not holding out a whole lot of hope here. You know, the money at the scrapyard is looking pretty tempting, but we'll see. I'm not giving up yet. Bye, everybody. We'll see you later.